Okay, picking up where we left off. Now the next thing that we can do is, you can see here over on my left diagram that I have the aside highlighted. So that's the next thing that we need to add. So if you go up in the begin banner section, we've sort of been neglecting the banner area. We go section, article, and then header, and then after the header is where the aside goes. So let's go ahead and put that. It allows you to do autocomplete, and we'll just type aside right here. And then lastly, there's something else on the page that we decided that we're going to have. We're going to have a quote down here at the bottom where it says quote for the day. And to do a quote, one of the most appropriate things that you can use is something called a block quote. And so let's figure out where that's supposed to go. That would go in the last article under the first H3, which is here, and where that's going to be quote for the day. So after that H3, drop it down and we're going to type block quote, and you see it automatically tries to autocomplete. And then this is where your block quote text will go. And now I'll just type block. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to drop it down because this is going to be longer text. So let's go ahead and put block quote here. Okay. Or quote of the day here or something like that. All right. Let's save this and let's just do a double check and refresh and make sure that yes, we have our aside now. And then down here we've got a block quote. And you see automatically some of the things that are happening. Let me explain this to you. This is kind of weird. For some reason, I don't know why, but the browser is styling the H1 so that it's smaller, even though it is the most dominant thing on the page. But what I want to show you is that, this page it doesn't technically have styling attached. We haven't done anything to style it. But you notice that it does have some styles, like, the H2s are big, the H3s are big, but they're a little smaller. For some reason unknown to me, the H1 is the smallest thing on the page. In terms of the headings, it's weird. But paragraph has space around it. The list items have bullets, and the unordered list is pushed in, it's inset. So all of these things are actually technically getting some styles from somewhere. What's happening is that the browser, all browsers do this, they have what are called default style sheets, and you don't see them. They're not things that you create, all right? They're actually things that later in the semester I will show you how to undo, because sometimes you don't want the default browser styling, but that's what it's called. It's called the default browser styling. The default browser style sheet does this stuff, and it's so that if a page comes in without any kind of styling attached to it, it goes ahead and it puts some default styles so that you visually can see the difference. Otherwise, it would still look like that text page, that text document that we had originally, where everything is just run together. And so the browser's trying to help you out by interpreting the tags and then putting some styles to them. Okay, so just so you understand that. But this is our basic page of what we've got right now. Okay, so let's go back here and let's look at filling out the content now. All right, so now we've got our basic document, and I can go ahead and open up my rich text file, and I'm just going to sort of stick this over here, all right, because now this is more important than my little diagram. So I can literally go and just copy and paste. And something you need to be aware of when you copy and paste into code is that if you ever find something that has quotation marks or apostrophes, or other types of special characters like N dashes or M dashes, those really long dashes, then it will potentially create a problem if you copy and paste that directly into the code view, because it will carry over a special encoding for the special character, and it might give you some wonky stuff on the screen. And I'll show you how, like with the copyright, it's probably going to do that, and I'll show you how to deal with that. So let's first of all copy this hi, I'm so and so, and that's the H1, that's where the H1 goes. Okay, and then for the aside, let's go ahead and copy the aside, and you can see now why I kind of wanted to just put the structure there. And so we can do the aside like that. The other thing that we could do if you wanted to make it easier to see what's going on is you could also do the aside like this, if that's easier to see. Okay, so that you can see the structure a little bit better. It's really up to you how you want to do that. I usually have for me personally, I sort of have this general rule that if something is many or multi-line, then I might drop it down like this versus say where an H1 or something, if it's going to be on one line and short and sweet, I'll leave it up in one line. So let's go down to the content area. We'll say we've got a little bit about me. Okay, and we'll put that for our first H2. And then for my first H3 in that section or in that article, we're gonna take my interests and we'll paste it right here. And we've got some paragraph text that goes in our paragraph tag, and we'll put that right here. All right, and then list item, this is where you would fill out the things that you really love to do. So I don't know, run in circles or something like that. Put whatever, put something that's real. You know, I'm just being silly. Eat popsicles, and I don't know, pet my dog. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm not going to make you watch me do this. What you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to find all of these different things and you're going to copy and paste them in until you get something that looks like. Okay. All right. So I filled all this stuff in, and there's one little thing I want to clean up right after this last ordered list. Let's go ahead and clean that up. And then you see what we've got is block quote here. And all right, let's just hit save and let's go check it out in a browser. Hit refresh. And then here's what you've got. And you've got a page that actually looks like something. Okay, it's not too bad. All right. Oh, and then I forgot to put the paragraph text down at the bottom. That is one thing that I didn't do. So let's do that together. I'm going to copy this copyright. And we're going to go back to Komodo. And where it says paragraph text, let's paste this here and let's save it. And let's take a peek at what happens. And you'll see that it's actually interpreting the copyright symbol properly on the screen, but there's a very good chance that it won't. There's a very good chance that it's going to show up like something very strange, because you're not really supposed to put an actual copyright symbol in the code view, just so you know that. And you may not necessarily see it on your own computer, but like when you put it on the server, it might translate in a weird way. There are these things called HTML entities, and a copyright symbol would look like a different kind of little piece of code, a little snippet of code in the code view, so that it looks right. And there's something that is really simple about understanding HTML entities. They all start with an ampersand and they all end with a semicolon. And then it's what goes in between those two things that makes a difference as to what kind of HTML entity is. And usually, not always, but usually they're pretty straightforward. So a copyright would be the word copy. All right, so ampersand, copy, and then a semicolon. If I hit save, come back here, hit refresh, you see that it's still a copyright symbol. That's actually the correct way of doing it. And it's not 2013, that's the other issue. So let's jump down here and let's change that. Whatever year this happens to be when you're watching this, okay? Save it and then you can test it and it's going to update it. So that's going to be how you can get started just by doing what's on this page right here. But there are some other things that we might want to look at doing. I want to show you in the code view something that's going to be really helpful. And so we've got this begin banner section, end banner section, and so on. But up here where it says section, it's just section. If we needed to target and highlight for some reason this section up here, then we need to give it a special ID so that we know exactly which section it is. And there's a really easy way to do that. And that is to put a space here, and then we're going to add an attribute which is ID, and you see it's a different color. And then it automatically is showing me right here in my highlight. It allows me to go ahead and say ID equals, and then we'd put in quotation marks, we'd put the name of the ID. And let's just call this banner. Okay. And then down below, let's give this section an ID. And let's say that it equals content. Okay. And then if the footer is the footer, you could give it an ID if you really wanted to. And then, you know, it's up to you if you wanted to also ID the articles. It's not necessary. It's not necessarily necessary, but right now that would be really helpful so that later whenever we go to style stuff, right now it doesn't matter so much, but later when we go to style stuff, we can target these things in a special way. Now, there's something else too about, you know, IDs are just mainly for CSS or if you're doing forms, which we are not going to probably get into in this class, but you can use IDs for that too. But there's another thing too for accessibility. So for a screen reader or, well, for a screen reader, it doesn't necessarily tell me anything just by saying that the ID is banner. What is helpful is to use a thing called an ARIA role. And let me show you what that is on another web page, and I'll give you the link to this. This is a page that Mozilla Developer Network publishes. By the way, Mozilla Developer Network is wonderful for anything. So if you go to developer.mozilla.org, if you want to learn something in a very simple way and see, like, for instance, those HTML entities, we can find that here too. But these are ARIA roles, and it talks about ARIA techniques. And it explains the different categories of roles. I'm not going to go into this a lot, but what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to landmarks, and basically it tells you if you've hit a certain type of landmark on a page, so that somebody who maybe is blind would understand that, okay, something is a banner or something is the main area. And what we called the main area, we called it content. Well, main is something very specific. It is the main content of the web page, as opposed to a header or a footer or, you know, some kind of sidebar or navigation or something. It is where the meat of the page is. And so we're going to use these two, banner and main, in our roles. So let's jump back here. And I'm going to give this section ID equals banner afterwards. After the banner, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say role is another attribute, and then we're going to say banner. And then that way somebody who is blind will understand that this isn't just an ID for styling, but it's also has a role of banner, that we know that it is the banner section for the web page. And then also section ID equals content. After that, we're going to say role equals main. Okay. And so that's a really good way to get started. And I'm not, you know, going to go deeply into ARIA roles. We will talk about it a little bit more later in the semester, but this is a good way to kind of get started with them. Okay, I'm going to end this demonstration here, and we're going to move forward in the next ones by adding content that did not exist in that rich text file. And we're going to add links and navigation, and you're going to learn how to do stuff with images. So go ahead and move on to the next video.